Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. My name is Sarah and I'm glad that you joined me today. Today I wanted to talk about homeschooling. I know everybody's getting back into the swing of things. It's September 1st. And just to say, if you are a homeschooler, you don't need to start September 1st. It just happens to be when a lot of people are asking me questions about starting. Maybe you have one child that's in school, public or private, and then you're homeschooling another, and so you want to keep them on the same schedule. A lot of states require you to send in your information at the start of the public school year, but you don't have to you don't have to homeschool by the public school standards timing. So just so you know, that's the first thing. But I wanted to talk today about how we homeschool and that we don't have to feel like we are behind everybody else. You are watching your child by how your own child does. So your child isn't competing against other people. I think a lot of times homeschoolers get really worried because we think of homeschooling as like a race, and my child needs to finish at the same time as the other athletes. But the thing is, homeschooling is more like, let's say if we're going on the race analogy, like a cross-country race. So I ran the cross-country run. I don't actually run, but let's say your student runs the cross-country run in 25 minutes. Well, then you guys work on some sprinting and you work on some, sprint for a little while, walk, that type of thing. And the next time they run it in 23 minutes, they've improved. It doesn't matter if the person next to them improved by 5 minutes in that length of time, your student improved. And that's all we're trying to do, is we're trying to see where our student is starting and go from there. We have this idea that we have to be on track with the public school timeline of when kids are learning things. And if you are homeschooling your children in such a way that you're planning to send them back to school at some point, like that is your goal of when they get to 6th grade, I'm sending them back, then yes, you should stay on some type of timeline so your child knows what they're going to need to know for school then. Just like if your child is going to go off to college to be a doctor, you're going to want to see what your college requirements are so that you can make sure you hit all those classes before they get there. But if you're not planning on actively sending your child back, the goal of homeschooling is to teach your child how to keep learning. The goal is not to get them reading by the end of 1st grade and writing, papers by the end of 2nd and having all their times tables measured by the end of 3rd. Your job is to keep them progressing from wherever they are. So I liken it to a baby walking. And I know that we live in a sin-cursed world and sometimes people need help. We have a son, Josiah, who has cerebral palsy, and we needed to get special help as we worked through what a child should actually be doing in terms of moving, because he couldn't use the left side of his body. But for all of my other children, they have all learned to walk on their own timeline. And I can push them to walk by, here, we're going to practice here. Hold on to my fingers and we're going to walk across the room and all of those things. But as I learned more about brain development with Josiah, we realized that we don't actually need to be pushing the normal children to be walking. They're just going to walk when they're ready. And with Gideon, we had Gideon's 3, almost 4 now. We had some very, excited older siblings who wanted to see him walk. So they would play with him in such ways that it would strengthen his leg muscles, and they would be like prompting him on, come on, Gideon, let's walk. So Gideon walked, I don't remember, let's say 12 months. He walked more at the mid-level of when people would normally walk, because he had these siblings that were very excited to help push him along. Elisha is now 15 months, I think. He started walking right about 14 months. Took his first steps, waited a few days, and then just started walking around the house. And we watched a video recently of him doing that. Of Gideon doing that at the same age. We just happened to be watching some family videos and we were at the zoo and Gideon was walking and he was 14 months. And Gideon was much more unstable on his feet than Elisha was, because Elisha learned how to use his body in the ways that he felt comfortable, and he was able to push himself when he felt comfortable doing it, and he was able to take breaks when he felt comfortable doing it. Because I was very much this time telling the kids, nope, we're not going to try to stand him up. Nope, we're not going to walk along with the fingers and stuff like that. We're going to let him figure this out. And he did. And he walks great now. Not that he never falls, he's a baby, but he does so much better if you watch the comparison of the one who was prompted to walk and Elisha when he was ready to walk. And so I relate this to homeschooling, because your child, if you give them the opportunity to learn to read, like you have books around, you have paper they can write on, you have all of that, and you are modeling for them, they're going to learn to do it. And so with Elisha learning to walk, he watched all of his siblings walking. He's been given access to like the edge of the bed that he could stand up on, and we have the climbing triangle, and all. He has things to use to be able to work on those skills, but we weren't forcing him. If he was very excited about climbing, I was there and ready to help him in whatever ways he needed. If he were to get stuck, if he needed, like if you're helping the child up onto the bed, they need a little boost. I was there to help him with those things, but I wasn't pushing him. And when he was done with, let's say, climbing on the climbing triangle, okay, we're done. And we just stopped. I think it's hard, because I think that there are a lot of people that push their children. Okay, you're 4, you're 5, whatever it is, we're going to sit down and you're going to write this letter, you're going to do this thing. And you have it like really planned out of like, by the end of this week, we should be able to accomplish this. But then you have the other ditch to fall in, where you're just kind of like, yeah, my kid will learn to read when they're ready. But if you don't have materials for them or things for them to work on, like access, they're not going to do that. If the only place that I had Elisha down on the ground was a wet, mucky floor that was slippery, and he didn't have things around him to be able to pull up on and everything, he probably would have taken a lot longer to learn how to get up onto his own 2 feet, because it would have been difficult. He wouldn't have had access to the things that he needed to learn. So if you have a child that you don't have books within your home, you don't regularly have out like a paper and pen or crayon or something like that, if you're not modeling like simple things like writing a grocery list or opening your Bible and reading the words off the page to them, so that they know, oh, those things on the page mean something to mommy. I don't know what they mean, but they mean something to mommy. Talking through what you're doing for the day. Oh, I need to get out the recipe so that I can see, oh, it says we need 1 cup of sugar. I'm not saying those are actual reading lessons, but showing your child where reading takes place in life and modeling to them that you use it on a regular basis. If your child only ever sees you on your phone scrolling, which I do, so I'm not saying that that is always wrong, but if they don't know mommy's reading a book on her phone and that is making sense to her and she's understanding something, if they think you're just watching videos, because when Elisha gets to use my phone for something, because like I'm trying to finish this thing, let's say with raw meat, and I put some music on for him, he's just listening or watching something. But to know there's actually words on this screen that I'm reading to do something. Just that modeling that behavior, your kid is going to want to learn. And that might be at 4 years old. I have a child who's 5 right now, about to be 6, and he reads super well because he wanted to. He was able to learn that, and I didn't even actually finish a reading curriculum with him because he just learned it. But there might be an 8-year-old that we are still regularly going through the words. Because of Josiah, with his cerebral palsy, we have to shorten his lessons a lot. And just so everyone knows, all my educating people and my doctors and all of that understand why we do that with Josiah. But there are times that he still needs help when we're reading through Bible, sounding out a word. So we help him sound out the word because that's where Josiah is. I don't need to compare him to how well Uriah reads. I don't have to compare him to how well Samuel reads. Is Josiah making progress? Is Josiah getting the tools that he needs at his age? Because what we want to do as homeschoolers is to push our children to learn more about the world around them. We are never going to be able to teach our children without leaving gaps. Every education has gaps in it. Whether you send them to public school, private school, you homeschool them, there are going to be gaps. But the idea is to teach them to love learning and teach them how to access that information. Because when they're ready, like the baby learning to walk, when they're ready, they're going to stand up and take off. But sometimes they need 3 years of constant modeling and constant working with them. And again, that's not making the list and being like, they better be able to write the letter A by the end of the week. It's saying, let's work on this. Let's play a game. Let's do things. Let's introduce them to the concept. And when they're ready, you're going to see they're just going to take off with it. But again, don't feel like your child's behind, because they are on their own race course. They're on their own racetrack. It doesn't matter if every other person has finished. Is your child still moving forward? Is your child still having fun and enjoying learning the new concepts? Or is your child sitting down crying, frustrated because they're not moving forward? That's not getting them any closer to the goal. But when you stop and you say, what does this child need to move forward? You're going to go a lot further before comparing them to everybody else. So I hope that was an encouragement. We'll see you guys on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God next time. Bye.